and where this is really coming from is the homunculus theory. What is a homunculus, you ask? Well, until Van Leeuwenhoek in the 1730s, as I recall, although I'm probably off on my timeline, and I'm sure the folks in the chat room or Sue can correct me, but until Van Leeuwenhoek invented the microscope, the belief, and I emphasize that word with the capital B, the belief, the worldview, the belief was that men produced babies, that we were all the ancestors and descended pretty much exclusively of men. And this is why boys and girls took their father's name, last name. This is why wives took their husband's last name. This was the justification for patriarchy. This was the justification for a hierarchical patriarchy. Boy, today seems like National Culture Day or something, at least on this show. It seems like all I'm talking about is culture. But the story was that men produced babies because sperm was actually little tiny human beings. Right? They knew there was something small in there, but they couldn't look at it closely enough to see if it was, to see that it was actually a sperm cell. And even when they started to be able to see it as sperm cells, they were like, oh, yeah, well, there it is. That's that little pre-human. And the women were basically just toaster ovens. Hosts, to quote Representative Justin Humphreys, Republican of Oklahoma. Hosts. And so, men would put these little tiny microscopic humans inside the woman, and then she would be the toaster oven and grow it until out it comes. And this was combined with the biblical story that we for all have sinned and fallen short of the grace of God, right? That we're all evil because of the actions of a woman, Eve, eating that damn apple. And so not only were women merely toaster ovens, but they were defective in a human sense, toaster ovens. I mean, they were defective in other ways. They were just fine as toaster ovens. In fact, we want to force them to continue to be nothing but toaster ovens. Why are they even in the workplace? They're supposed to be home being toaster ovens. And this was used to justify hierarchy and patriarchy. You hear this? I mean, for example, you want this worldview? Listen to, Rush Limbaugh. Slut-shaming, pretty much any woman who gets in his way. And it's not just Limbaugh. I mean, this is the whole right-wing, male-dominated meme. And weirdly, even most of the women in the right-wing, male-dominated meme seem to be suffering from Stockholm syndrome. And I'm not, this is not a rant about abortion, by the way. This is although this is, an anti-abortion law. This is HB 1441 in Oklahoma. Would require a woman seeking an abortion to get permission, written permission from a man. Now, why would Republican legislators think that if a woman is going to get an abortion, that she has to have written permission from a man? Why would Mike Pence push for a law in Indiana that said if a woman even has a miscarriage, she has to pay thousands of dollars for a funeral for that little bit of tissue that might have just slipped into the toilet? Oh my God, you got to fish it out. Because women are toaster ovens and men are the ones who provide the homunculus. Homunculus is a fancy word. I'm not sure the origin of it. It doesn't sound like Latin to me, but it probably is. But it means arguably, little tiny person, or proto-person, or proto-human, or something, words to that effect. And the outcome of this bizarre worldview that men hold about women, that men are the superior sex. Well, they're not. Men, may be physically stronger, but they don't live longer, and they're more likely to commit violent acts. I mean, look at the ratio of murder or rape or robbery or war. Pick your poison, right? How many of them are started by women? How many of them are done by women? Now, what men have said up till this point is, yeah, of course, women don't get in fights in the same proportion that men do. They don't commit violence the same proportion men do. They don't try to conquer other nations the same way men do. They don't get hysterical about spreading my way is the only way to everybody on the earth the way that men do. I mean, how many female evangelical pastors, megachurch pastors, do you know of, for example, who are right-wing preaching this kind of stuff? I don't know of any. Even Tammy Faye Baker was just kind of standing by her man. The late Tammy Faye Baker, I should add. So what this worldview has led to is not just the essential enslavement is a little bit too strong a word, but subjugation of women. But it also supports this idea that if we think of the earth as Mother Earth, it's feminine. So what's its sole purpose? Which takes me back to my first hour. What's the sole purpose of the earth? To be a toaster oven for men, for babies. I mean, this is where that logic leads. And we're seeing this writ large. I mean, this is Mike Pence's world. This is his life. Now, Donald Trump, rather than seeing women as toaster ovens, is more likely to see women as objects into which he can satisfy his desire for a pleasant experience. I'm trying to be family friendly here. And he can just kind of, grab them by that part anytime he wants, because after all, he's a man. And a rich and famous man at that, where, the psychological illness, the psychosis becomes even more severe, even more exaggerated. But make no mistake, this is at the core of the male-dominated Republican Party, male-dominated hierarchical, patriarchal shtick about shutting down Planned Parenthood, which has very little to do with abortion and everything to do with controlling women. And these so-called small government conservatives who want to have big government when it comes to anything having to do with the lives and bodies of women. So I've shared with you this kind of, well, not kind of, this male-dominated perspective. If we're only going to have one God, he's got to have a penis, right? Got to be a man. And therefore, we got to keep women in their place, keep them barefoot and pregnant. And if they happen to have one of our little homunculuses from us men growing inside them, that's more important than even the life of the woman. And if you don't believe me, just ask Republican Representative Justin Humphreys of Oklahoma, who said, after you're irresponsible, then don't claim, well, I can just go do this with another body, when you're the host and you invited that in. That nasty little homunculus.